Morning, EB. AJC.
EB, thanks for your help, buddy, but Maya has completely ghosted me. She doesn't return calls, texts, or emails. It's as unprofessional of someone I've dealt with in a long time. To have 2 meetings with someone and then for them to just not respond. It's unbelievable. And I appreciate all your help, and I'm not bitching. It's just like, man, oh man, if you're going to say no, how about send a text saying we can't do it? I just don't know why that's so hard for another human being. I really don't.
Tim Wancho. Baby Jules. When I see Johnny Fingerlegs, I think of The Sopranos and the character Johnny Cakes. I love you, Johnny Fingerlegs.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this hump day. Hope your week is going well. What do you say we get over it together, shall we? Hold on one second. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Good show lined up for you. 3 terrific guests, Mark Packer, Orlando Alzugaray, and Alejandro Solana.
I'm putting the over-under on Orlando Alzugaray questions at 3.5.
Oh, you are right there, my friend. Right there. This is going to be a very Brando-esque interview.
And 3.5 means questions asked by the host. That does not include questions that the Big O may ask and answer of himself during any interview answers. He's fired up. Miami Dolphin fan base is fired up.
Well, how did you react yesterday afternoon when you found out that this is all coming from the Dolphins? Jalen Ramsey didn't request a new contract. He didn't request a trade. This is coming from the Dolphins?
Here's the incompetence that bothers me more than anything. David, look it. If they want to tear this sucker down, tear it down. I think the line's got awful. I think their defense is injured, and I'm worried about it. But the fact of the matter is, they just re-signed him last year and gave him an extension. It makes absolutely no sense to re-sign Hill, re-sign Ramsey, and then go and want to trade Ramsey. They can't trade Hill this year, they can, but it would be foolish from a cap standpoint. So Greer is now gone from, I didn't think he was a great GM. I thought he was okay, sometimes poor. He looks incompetent now, David.
Yeah, yesterday afternoon was not a good press conference for Chris Greer. He referred to Tyreek Hill as a leader on the team and couldn't think of anybody else besides like Zach Seiler. Didn't mention Tua, by the way. Hello? All his big moves, he's now systematically moving away from? What the heck? The reason that I had never fully dumped on Chris Greer was because I didn't think Greer had the power. I thought he won the power struggle with Flores, but that Greer seemingly gave away a lot of his personnel power to Mike McDaniel. He catered to the coach.
But, David, I want to stop you there. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But isn't that what a GM is supposed to do?
No.
Is work with his coach to build the team that the coach needs as opposed to the team that the GM wants. That's why when you hire a coach who's considered an offensive guru and his speed offense, well, then you get him tools for that offense, don't you?
Yeah, but Jalen Ramsey's a defensive player. Okay, this was his, and I got to tell you, the deal, I mean, it was a steal of a deal. He gave up, what, a third-round pick and a role player for Jalen Ramsey? And then paid him. Well, of course you're going to have to pay him. At the time that he acquired him, Jalen Ramsey was one of the 3 best corners in the game. And they had the money. So, I mean, the deal to get Ramsey was terrific. But here's the problem I have, Mark. Let's just talk about a radio station in our show and make it the Dolphins. So 5 years ago, you're like, listen, this ain't working. We're going to have to retool the show. We're going to have to retool the station. Okay. And it's going to take a little while. Okay. So we go about retooling and we become pretty good. The station becomes pretty good. Okay. We're contending. I mean, the Dolphins did have 4 straight winning seasons. Now, only made the playoffs twice and never won a playoff game. So once again, it was success to a point. The ceiling was much lower than when you're making the case for this is my 5-year plan. You think the ceiling is eventually going to get higher than that. We're not just going to have a winning season. We're not just going to be a road wild card team. We're going to get to January. We're going to win some games. All right. The Dolphins didn't get to that point, and now they're seemingly tearing it down. Well, with all due respect, then your rebuild didn't work. I mean, if the Dolphins go 7-10, 8-9 again this year, what overall grade do we want to give Chris Greer in his 6 years of rebuilding, reloading with the Dolphins? I mean, no offense, you can put up with the bad, but you got to have better than what you've given us. And now it looks as if you peaked. And Mark, I hate to say this, but there are 2 franchises in this state in which there seem to be 2 moments in time. And how long is it going to take for the Dolphins and Jaguars to climb beyond this moment? The Dolphins moment is the Monday night they were hosting Tennessee. And all they had to do was win the games they were favored to win the rest of the year, and they were going to win the East, and they were going to be the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. And they blew a 13-point lead to Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans, who a year and a quarter later have the number 1 pick of the draft. We said it at the time. We said, oh boy. It was like when Tennessee had that terrific regular season with Ryan Tannehill, and they were the 1 seed, and everybody was going to have to come to them. And we said, this is their moment in time. If they screw it up, they'll probably never get back here. Certainly not with this group. They screwed it up. He threw 4 interceptions against Cincinnati. They lost. We haven't heard from them again. And with the Jags, they're 8-3 hosting Cincinnati without Joe Burrow on a Monday night. They're tied for the best record in the AFC after winning the division and a playoff game the year before. At that moment in time, which I believe was early December of 2023, the Jags are a bona fide contender. They lost 5 of 6. They missed the playoffs, and we all know what happened last year, and we all know where they are today. I mean, it is remarkable. Those games happened, Mark, I think within a week of one another. Jacksonville at home on a Monday night against Cincinnati, the Dolphins at home on a Monday night against Tennessee. What have we said for years? When the schedule maker gives you a win, Mark, what do you have to do?
Well, you have to take that win. And it is amazing how these franchises have become to mirror one another because it is the same problem. You know, the thing about Miami that I have such a problem with, David, is that they had Fangio and the defense was fine. And now they bring in Johnson, right? It's the D coordinator, Weaver, rather, who everybody seems to love. Like all the players like.
And he's gotten head coaching interviews, by the way. He's that well thought of throughout the league.
And the other side, the two sides don't seem to complement one another at all. They are mirrored in that they have incredible difficulty in playing hard-nosed football. And that's the part that, you know, Miami, when you look at them, even over the run that you talked about, in all the winning records and the couple of playoff appearances, you go back and look at their record against teams that were in the playoffs, and it's god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
Miami is simply a mediocre team that has done very well against the lower end of the league and done extremely poorly against anybody that was a contender.
But both Jacksonville and Miami were in a position in which all they had to do was do what they're capable of, beat the mediocre to bad teams, and then look at the position that they would have been in. That's all. Their fan base has not asked either one to do anything that they weren't capable of doing. And they screwed it up, and now they have both fallen apart. And there's a part of me that thinks I'd rather be a Jags fan right now. Why? Because I think they're a year ahead of the Dolphins. They blew it up a year early. The Dolphins are going to be blowing it up in 9 months. Jags already did it.
And if it's starting now with Ramsey and the season goes poorly in Miami, you'd have to expect that any commodity that they have that's worth a damn is probably going to get dealt during the season. And the Dolphins just went, it wasn't too long ago, they were tanking for Tua. I mean, this is not that long ago. And here we are, damn near back in the same situation.
You can't stand before the cameras and the microphone and say you're getting rid of one of your 3 best players. At worst, one of your 5 best, but probably one of your 3 best, in which you already had a need at the position that he plays. You can't then look into the camera and speak into the microphone and say, this will give us a better chance to win. Listen, fans are stupid. We are. Media are stupid. We put up with a lot. We accept a lot of blank from you guys, and we swallow it. We ain't that stupid. Okay? There's not much to this radio show. But if one of us goes away, the show is not better. It's simple. How are the Dolphins a better team without Jalen Ramsey? How can you look? He didn't, by the way, qualify it. He didn't say we're going to take the $21 million and we're going to strengthen ourselves elsewhere and we'll end up a better team. He said, no, we're trading Jalen Ramsey and it's going to make us a better team. Really?
Great show lined up for you today. Mark Packer will talk a little college football. He's on the ACC network. Orlando Alzugaray to talk Dolphins and Alejandro Solana to talk Heat. The starting 5, 25 minutes away.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right. I'm off of the underrated. I think we're just going to go with, because I don't know if we come up with 4 underrated that people would like, but let's just go best game show of all time in celebration of Wink Martindale.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour, and it's going to get controversial. It's going to get heated. It's going to end up in a poll question, and we're probably not going to have the right choices and get yelled at by our audience. But, you know, it's a day that ends in Y, so what else is new? Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Starting 5 in a little more than 15 minutes, but we're going to go off the beaten path for a second. Wink Martindale died yesterday, 91. And no, not the defensive coordinator with Michigan and the Ravens and Giants and what have you. The game show host, Wink Martindale. By the way,
Doe was probably his biggest one in our lifetime.
You think so?
I do.
What was he associated with?
Gambit was the one they say is his biggest, the original run of a show, Gambit, but that ran from 72 to 76. I don't remember it.
Gotcha.
He did High Rollers. He did a bunch of shows.
I have to admit, I liked High Rollers. I thought High Rollers was like the Barney Miller of game shows. I liked it. I did. It's funny. Barney Miller is on replay at 4:30 in the morning on some obscure channel, and my wife found it. And so, you know, I'm getting up earlier and earlier. So here I am this morning, okay, having breakfast, watching Barney Miller. How old am I?
Old,
David. I mean, that sounds somewhere between like 93 and $107, doesn't it?
Yeah, about there.
Yeah.
About there.
So where do we want to go in honor of Wink Martindale?
Well, it would be one of two things. Most underrated game show, and that is tough because you're really trying to pull the rabbit from the hat there and trying to find 4 shows that people all know that they would think are underrated. Or we could just say, what's the best game show of all time?
All right. Can I ask a side question before we post that?
Yeah.
Is anything going to beat The Price is Right?
Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Family Feud. Those would be the 3 I'd put up against it.
Okay. So for the
feud's pretty popular, David.
For the next few minutes, 21,000 text line, Twitch chat room, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Price is Right, Wheel, Jeopardy, Family Feud. What do you nominate to knock one of those off the list? That's the first thing. We have to settle on the list. It's a good list. It's a very solid list. All 4 still around today. Price is Right, Wheel, Jeopardy, Family Feud. That's our list. But do you think there's a game show that should be on the list that isn't? Or is that the big one? 4?
The only one that I would think, and I don't know who I would take off for it, is the $100,000 pyramid.
Okay.
Big fan of the pyramid, then and now.
What about Match Game?
Again, what are you going to take off? I mean, Match Game was its own entity. They were hammered by the end of the week.
No, they were. The show was so inappropriate. Sexual innuendo and entendre everywhere, not just amongst the 6 guests, but they would also go after the people that were trying to win money on the show. Yes. Just wondering. All right. The Newlywed Game. See, to me, that was always a fringe game.
Exactly. That would be in the underrated category.
Right.
With Card Sharks.
Correct. Oh, love me some Card Sharks.
What's the Press Your Luck? I would put in the underrated game show category.
Okay.
Big bucks, no whammies.
Exactly.
But I think those are the big ones. I wouldn't put Match Game in the underrated. Match Game was rated appropriately. And I know people are now just, filling the Twitch chat room with game shows. What I would like out of you is you tell me what out of the 4 that we put up there, which one are you replacing it with? A lot of people upset, with Jeopardy being on the list because Jeopardy has a whole different, you can just get on wheel. You could get on a game show. Jeopardy, you've got to be smart. There's got to be a prerequisite of brains just to get on Jeopardy.
I feel as if Jeopardy is the U.S. Open of the 4 majors. Okay, that it's the toughest one, the toughest qualifier. Okay, I feel.
Would that make the Prices Right the Masters?
Yes. And Family Feud is definitely the PGA.
Which makes Wheel the British?
Totally. First off, could you imagine Benny Hill hosting Wheel? I mean, we could have a lot of fun if all of a sudden we put in like a British comedian. Okay. How about Ricky Gervais? Okay. Doing a little
I could see him doing the Feud.
I mean, you've got your Hollywood Squares even, and that's a very solid suggestion. Very solid. Hollywood Squares was huge at one point in time. Huge.
I would venture to say Hollywood Squares was equally as big, if not bigger, in the 70s than The Price is Right, because Hollywood Squares was in prime time, right? I mean, it was in that 7:00 window, wasn't it?
Or 7:30 in the East. And I would argue that Hollywood Squares was bigger than the Feud. That its first go around, it was bigger than the Feud.
But the Feud's had longevity.
It has.
Feud kind of like a Gary Player.
So Wheel, Jeopardy, Price is Right, Family Feud. In honor of Wink Martindale, who did not host any of those shows.
No.
So this is a hell of a connection that we're making here. That a legendary game show host died. Best known for A, strange name, and B, hair that never changed color or moved.
And apparently, Wink Martindale, and I did not know this, but he was the host of a TV show called Teenage Dance Party, where he had his buddy, Elvis Presley, make an appearance.
That's a hell of a, that's a hell of a guy to call.
Right.
Hey, listen, we need a boost in the ratings. Can you call your buddy? You mean Elvis? Yeah. All right. I'll see what he's doing. Okay. But so are we saying that this is the Mount Rushmore of game shows? The Joker's Wild, What's My Line, Let's Make a Deal, that none of these are bigger than Wheel, Jeopardy, Price is Right, Family Feud.
The 2 that I'm getting that are newer shows that I see in the Twitch chat room and I'm getting on the text line, 21,000 is the text line. Deal or No Deal and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Deal or No Deal doesn't pass the smell test to me to come close to any of those 4. It might be on the underrated list. But Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a monster for a while. It was a monster.
brought the ABC network back single-handedly. I mean,
That would be the only one that I would consider. But again, who do you take off the list to put Millionaire on the list?
Well, I think Family Feud's the PGA. I do. I think all these other game shows that we're mentioning, okay, that Family Feud is the most vulnerable. We'll settle it during the break. The starting five is next. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton.
I had to laugh. We don't have time. I'll get you later.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Mark Packer, our version of the Big O, Orlando Alzugaray, and Alejandro Solana, all scheduled to join the show coming up a little bit later on. Right now, it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
And we begin with the association because, in a way, the playoffs got underway yesterday. The play-in games started, the 7-8 play-in games, which is simple. The winner enters the playoffs as the 7 seed. The loser then gets ready to host a win or go home game on Friday night. Orlando dominated Atlanta in the fourth quarter. They got a sizable lead early. Hawks cut it to 6 going to the fourth. Magic took over in the fourth. Atlanta got frustrated. Trae Young ejected with about 5 minutes to go after he had scored 28 points. Cole Anthony came off the bench for 26 to lead Orlando to a 120-95 win. So the Magic at the Celtics.
That was about 3 different games last night. Orlando came out and just whacked him in the first half. Up huge. Trae Young gets going a little bit in the third quarter. They got it all the way to 4. And then Orlando found themselves again. Trae Young ends up getting tossed. He'll get fined too. He kicked the ball away from a ref, got a double tech in the fourth.
Will the Magic win a game for the Celtics?
They shoot like that, they will.
We'll see. Meanwhile, Atlanta will host the winner of tonight's Heat Bulls game in Chicago. The loser's done, out. The winner gets to play Atlanta in Atlanta Friday night. 7:30 tonight, 4-letter network. Bulls at home, a 1.5-point favorite. I believe Chicago won all 3 meetings with the Heat during the regular season. Out west, turned into a good one. And Golden State needed all of Steph and Jimmy Butler's heroics. Jimmy buckets with 38. Steph taking over in the fourth quarter. Warriors hold off the Grizz, 121-116. So Golden State enters the Western Conference playoffs as the 7th seed. Memphis returns home. Friday night, they'll play the winner of tonight's Dallas-Sacramento elimination game. 10 o'clock ESPN, Sacramento at home, a 4.5-point favorite. So again, the losers tonight are done. The winners tonight go on the road Friday night to try to play their way into the playoffs as an 8 seed. NHL. Lightning scored 3 in the first, whoop up on the Panthers 5-1. Those 2 teams will face one another in the first round of the playoffs, with the Lightning having home ice advantage because Toronto did something they have not done much of in the last 60 years, and that's win a division title. For just the 3rd time since 1967, the Leafs won the division that they're in, winning in Buffalo 4-0. So the Leafs will get Ottawa. And the Lightning and Panthers will get it on. Is this the 4th time this decade that we're going to get Lightning Panthers? Didn't we get Lightning in 6, Lightning in a sweep, and then the Panthers last year in 5? Right? So for 2 teams who hadn't met in the postseason in their respective 30-year histories, I think this is our 4th playoff series this decade between the 2. And that's good for hockey.
You are correct.
So Lightning won the first 2, Panthers won the last one. Meanwhile, the Blue Jackets stay alive. They shut out the Flyers 3-0. They're 2 points behind the Canadiens. Both teams have a game left. It's real simple. If Montreal can get a point in their season finale, they're in the playoffs. But if they lose in regulation and Columbus wins, the Blue Jackets are the 8th seed and not Montreal. So you had a couple of teams who could clinch playoff spots out west last night. St. Louis needed a win against Utah. They took care of the hockey club easily 6-1. So the Blues are in. The Wild needed a point. St. Louis and Minnesota were playing their last games of the regular season. St. Louis took care of business. But Mark, Minnesota needing just a point at home against Anaheim, trailed 2-1, pulled the goalie, and scored the tying goal with 21 seconds left in regulation. Now, they went on to win in overtime, but if they don't score, they lose in regulation, and Calgary would have had a chance to play their way into the playoffs later on this week. But your two wild cards, the first wild card out west is Minnesota. Your second wild card is St. Louis. That means St. Louis will get Winnipeg and Minnesota will get Vegas, correct?
Yes, that is right.
Calgary did win last night, but that's now just a pride thing, beating Vegas 5-4 in a shootout.
I'll tell you what, I know it's late, and I'm going to be as guilty of it as anyone of not being able to stay up for it. But the 2-3 Western Conference matchups, if you will, Dallas and Colorado.
Oh, my goodness.
Going to be incredible. But to
Unbelievable.
me, that pales in comparison of the physicality that we could get in the Edmonton-LA Kings series. LA beat them 5-0 the other night. And Edmonton cross-checked an LA player to the face. They were talking all kinds of trash after that. LA basically said Edmonton put a B team out there to try to hurt us. This is going to be these teams do not like one another.
No, they do not. And Edmonton has beaten LA 3 straight years in the playoffs. The Kings will have home ice in this best of 7. I think the Kings are a better team this time around because Edmonton is banged up. And I don't think they'll be healthy at any point in time in the playoffs. And their key players are banged up too. You know, the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's. That's a problem. Baseball last night. Anybody see the crowd in Miami? Oh, boy. They listed the attendance as 73,24. Yeah, take 3,000 off that, and I still go under. Arizona got a grand slam from Corbin Carroll in a 10-4 win over the Marlins. Red Sox over the Rays 7-4. Alex Bregman said, I got this. He went 5 for 5 with 2 homers and 4 RBIs.
It's a big win after getting chastised so badly by your manager after getting whooped the night before and basically getting embarrassed by your manager after the game about the effort that the team gave. So good win.
Yeah, they got beat 16-1 by the Rays
Right.
the night before. Phillies got the better of the Giants, which hasn't happened very often this year. The Giants had only lost 3 games in 3 weeks, but the Phillies beat them in Verlander 6-4. Twins. Yeah, there were quite a few people who were disguised as empty seats at Target Center there, or whatever, Target Field. Attendance listed is 12,507. Yeah, I don't think so. And half the people that were there were Mets fans. Twins got the win, however, 6-3 over the Mets. Speaking of 6-3, Jays over the Braves by that score. Good news for Atlanta. Strider makes his season debut pitching today for Atlanta. Remember, missed all of last year with Tommy John surgery. And Acuna is getting ready for a rehab assignment also. So he's a couple weeks away.
They better hurry it up. They're 5-12.
I know. Remember, though, the year they won the World Series, they were like, 55-60. And, we know how it finished. But, yeah, no doubt, especially with the teams in the West, Mark, off to such a good start. I mean, like last year, 89 was the tiebreaker for the wild card. If you're Atlanta right now, you think 89 is going to be the number? Or are you thinking we may have to get to like 92?
Yeah, I'd bank on the latter.
Yankees with 4 in the 6th. They beat the Royals 4-2. Guardians double up Baltimore 6-3. Cleveland's won 6 of 7. Orioles off to a 6-10 start. And their GM got questioned by the media yesterday going, you guys ever going to spend any money? How about even inking some of the young guys to long-term extensions like other teams have done? You've got like nobody under contract for more than 2 years. Are you guys serious about this, or are you guys the Pirates in disguise? That's basically what they were asked yesterday. Dodgers 6-2 over the Rockies, who are 3-14 on the season. The Dodgers are 13-6 and a game and a half out of first place. That's how good the Giants have been this year. Padres lost their first game at home, Mark. Cubs beat them 2-1-10. Then a bunch of shutouts. Astros 2-0 over the Cardinals. Milwaukee held your Tigers to 1 hit in a 5-0 win. Texas snapped a 3-game skid, beating the Angels 4-0. Washington 3-0 over Pittsburgh. Care to guess the attendance on a Tuesday night in Pittsburgh with the Nats in town?
11,287.
Under. 83-40.
And we thank you.
Yes, and we thank you and drive home safely. A's 12-3 over the White Sox. Okay. Tyler Sandstrom hit not one but 2 3-run homers for the A's. And the Reds double up the Mariners 8-4. Cincy's now over 500 at 9-8. Good, boys. Good. We are not losing this over-under on you guys for the second year in a row. Got it? We will take it personally if it happens. Pressure's on. Chris Greer held a press conference yesterday. He's the Dolphins general manager, and he said, oh, no, we're the ones initiating the trade of Jalen Ramsey. He didn't ask for a trade. We've met with him a few times, but no, he wants to stay. But, we're trading him. And we have so many good players. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is 30. He has $21 million left on this year's deal, and he's got $25 million left on next year's. Dolphins hoping to trade him before the draft. When asked why, the answer was it'll make us a better team. Yet when asked, is he a problem? They said no. So how is trading away your best corner going to make you a better team? Anybody? Could somebody help me with this, please? Tyron Smith, he is also going to retire and do so as a Cowboy. He'll sign one of those one-day contracts today. 13 years in the league, 12 of them in Dallas. Finished up last year with the Jets, an 8-time Pro Bowler. That offensive line is retiring. That terrific offensive line of the mid to late 20 teens for the Cowboys. I mean, that's like having the Lions-Eagles offensive line of the last couple years. Think about what Dallas didn't do with that offensive line.
And if you're Detroit, you got to start worrying. The one guard left, the center's old. I mean, they're going to have to start replacing parts on that line too, or they're going to have the same questions to ask in about 3 years.
Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta asked yesterday about the future of tight end Mark Andrews. He was non-committal. For what it's worth, John Harbaugh said at the owners' meetings that Andrews will be with the team this year. Andrews not only had the big drop in the playoff game, didn't have a good regular season, is getting up there in age, oh yes, and has all those women who are accusing him of being Deshaun Watson from a previous life 8 years ago. Andrews has a $4 million roster bonus, which they paid. His cap hit this year, $17 million. If they get rid of him, they save $11 million. By the way, my bad. Andrews isn't that guy. It was the
Tucker's
kicker.
guy, the
Tucker.
kicker.
My bad. My bad.
Whoa. Time
Can't-
out. I need a 20
Can't slander
seconds.
Mark Andrews there. My bad.
Thank you.
My bad. That's the kicker, Justin Tucker, not the tight end, Mark Andrews. College basketball, Purdue All-American point guard Braden Smith says he's going to come back for his senior year. Okay. All right. And there's a report that former Florida State standout Charlie Ward has been offered the men's basketball head coaching job at FAMU. All right. Hope he takes it. And at 7 minutes before the hour, that was the starting five. 5 big stories and the Dolphins imploding that you needed to know here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks for getting over it with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So did we go with our game show poll question in honor of Wink Martindale's passing yesterday at the age of 91?
Yes, with the passing of longtime game show host Wink Martindale, what is the best game show of all time? Family Feud, The Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy. Those are the 4. Sorry about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the $100,000 pyramid, whatever else you think may be on the list. I did the list, and these are the 4 that I chose.
Now, I will say somebody, because I think The Price is Right is going to win. But somebody made the case in which they're like, you have to view the show in its entirety. And Drew Carey just ain't working for a lot of people. That, that the Bob Barker Price is Right, that's going to win. But,
I think Drew Carey's done a fantastic job of replacing the legend. I mean, put it this way. Drew Carey's done a much better job replacing Bob Barker than whatever his name is that replaced Trebek. The one that won all the money.
Right. Ken.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Jennings.
Bingo. Yep.
I mean, far better. Like, to me, my mom watches The Price is Right damn near every day. I finish the show. I do my thing. My mother lives where I play golf. I keep my golf cart at my mother's home. So I see my mom every time I play golf. And I usually get there a little early to chat with mom. And usually when I come in, The Price is Right is on. And we watch the last 15 minutes or so together and do the showcase and bid on it and see who's who. I've got no problem with Drew Carey. I can sit down and watch it. I think he does a good job. Whereas Jeopardy, the pure arrogance of Alex Trebek reading you answers like he's the smartest guy who had ever lived when he was alive, even though he had the answer on the card in front of them and talked to you in a way that was demeaning, was fantastic.
And yet people found him likable.
Right.
Okay, that his arrogance was somehow likable. A lot of people's arrogance is seen as, well, just rude and arrogant. Yet his arrogance was, Alex, once again, trying to teach somebody what they don't know. They would just listen to Alex. So.
And the feud, went from Richard Dawson, which was the stuff of legend. I mean, it was the most inappropriate game show ever. He was basically mauling everybody's wife, sister, and daughter for 30 minutes on the show. And then you had whoever did it after Dawson, who had the long run there. But now Steve Harvey in the show's gotten very risque with their answers. I mean, they've jumped into the 21st century without a problem.
Have to admit, okay, we end up with a lot of feud on in the Moulton household. Wife's become a big fan. The wife's like, got the show. What's the last thing called? It's not the showcase, but it's I
think it's the Big Money Showdown.
Big Money, right? Yeah. For $20,000. And see, and I always get really nervous at the end of the show because then, same questions, her answers versus mine. And that's usually when your wife or your girlfriend looks at you kind of like, we're a couple? Really? Your answers were what they were and my answers were what they were, and we're somehow a couple. Huh.
It is great because the first time through, you both shout out your answers.
Right.
And you're not really paying attention to what the other one said. You're just answering the questions.
Correct.
And then when they go through it, you're like, what do you mean you said 4 out of 10? Are you nuts?
Miller and Moulton. I'd argue the big story yesterday was Chris Greer, Dolphins general manager, going public and announcing that it's their decision to get rid of their best defensive player. who was one of his biggest acquisitions while being general manager of the Dolphins. See, my question to you, Mark, is you and I can role play here. And I'm going to be Stephen Ross and you be Chris Greer. And when you're done with your presser yesterday, and I'm going to assume that Stephen's still in New York and he's just, called in. And I called you and I go, hey, Chris, why should I keep you as general manager? I mean,
I don't know how to answer that, because if you say we're building something, the quick response from Stephen Ross would be, what the hell are you building?
Well, we ain't building anything. We've been shopping at, the dollar store and Bell's this off season. We haven't had any money. You're the one that negotiated the contract so that we don't have any money. Now you want to free up $21 million after we could have used it to have acquired a couple people. By the way, who's left for us to sign long-term with this money? I mean, you signed both wide receivers long-term. The quarterback signed up long-term. Armstead retired. I mean, I think Javon Holland was asking too much money, but would have been nice to keep him because now we need a safety. And we would have had the money to keep him if you decided to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. Oh, I don't know, 5 weeks ago instead of now. What the hell good does this do us now?
Again, Chris Greer, when asked about Jalen Ramsey, said after a couple of weeks of discussions, we decided it was probably in the best interest for all parties to move forward. He went on to say that Ramsey did not ask for a trade, but it was clear it was time to move on. Why was it time to move on? You just signed him to an extension.
A year
What
ago.
happened between the extension you signed for him a year ago and today that now it's time to move on? I get he didn't like Fangio. He didn't like the style.
But
He didn't have a problem with Weaver style.
Right. Now, you could argue Jalen Ramsey, coming off the worst year of his career last year, didn't make a Pro Bowl for the first time. But I'm having trouble just as a fan. Never mind if I'm Stephen Ross. Chris, help me out here. I put you in charge of the rebuild. We're 5+ years down that road. 5. What do I have to show for it? The offensive line's no better now than it was when you traded, Laramie Tunsil to Houston. We're letting go of Ramsey. Teron Armstead, a big acquisition. He's retired. Tyreek now is coming off the worst year of his career. He's in his 30s, and his contract is an albatross. Help me out here. I don't see it. I mean, Kroenke took a lot of heat last week when he fired the head coach and the general manager of the Nuggets. I mean, if Chris Greer got fired tomorrow, or if they wait a week and a half, they wait till after the draft, and they fire Chris Greer, is there going to be a Dolphin fan that's going to have a problem with that?
No, the only problem they'd have is that it was done after the draft, and I know they can't do it between now and the draft, but that would be really the only issue from Dolphin. David, the pressure now on this team and on inadequate offensive linemen is incredible. You're asking a backup tackle to now assume the role at left tackle. Okay. You've got Austin Jackson, who I don't think is much more than average on the right side. You have bad guard play. And remember, you did these deals with Ramsey and Hill and extended them. Now, I don't think you would have been able to keep Hunt for what Carolina paid him, but you lost some of your own homegrown talent in lieu of keeping your acquisitions and extend them.
Here's the other thing that Chris Greer admitted publicly yesterday when talking about life in the secondary after Jalen Ramsey. Well, we got this guy for the slot and got a couple young guys. And hey, it's time for Cam Smith to step up. He needs to get the job done. Well, that's on you in a sense. You drafted him in the second round 2 years ago. The fact he hasn't stayed healthy and hasn't played worth a damn, that's a second round pick, dude. I mean, shouldn't he at least be a decent player? And he's a huge question mark right now. And you're calling him out at a presser? Hey, dude, time for you to step up and be held accountable. Well, what about the guy who drafted him? This, listen, they've got talent. They can win games. They can. But man, oh man, do I have just a bad feeling about the Dolphins heading into 2025.
And I think, one of the things we've talked about a lot is that you look at that division, the Dolphins are crawling back to where the Jets and the Patriots are, while the Patriots we think are getting better, and we'll see what the Jets do.
Well, and that's the other thing, Mark, is that when I handed over the rebuild to Chris Greer, we should be peaking now. The Jets are a mess. The Patriots are in transition. Probably won't be a mess a year from now, but still not good enough. I mean, we should be a good to very good team right now.
This was your window.
Right. The Jets screwed up their window. They're going to have to create another one. The Patriots are trying to create their next window.
The Bills are in the middle of theirs, and you helped them stay there. Going back to how you started the show with that loss against Tennessee. So what's next in Miami? Who do they draft? How do they handle this draft? And how long are the people handling the draft going to be in charge? Because it seems like it's a make-it-break-it year for Miami, and right now it looks like they're breaking it before the whole damn year started.
Miller and Moulton. Mark Packer in 45 minutes to talk about the state of big-time college sports. Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I'm curious there, whatever your name is, Nick's guy. You said something about me following The View and about me calling someone a felon. I don't feel like scrolling all the way up. Who did I call a felon on the show yesterday? And why are we supposed to not bash the Dolphins for what they've been doing? Are we supposed to paint it rosy? Do you think they're going to be good? If you're a Dolphin fan, are you happy right now? No, I said what happened, and I said there are many people calling for him to be fired. I reported on what happened. You can listen to whatever the hell you wanted to. You do all negative all day long in there, but please come at me. Yeah, there were plenty of people that called for his job yesterday and said if a woman did it, their career would be over. That was the discussion we had. Jesus Christ. I believe that it's something you can't do on today's airwaves. No, I don't think you can go ask for a date, and I don't think the two play-by-play, I don't think I would never, if I was doing play-by-play, encourage him to do that, ever. I'm very guarded about what I say on the air in today's world. I said things 20 years ago on the air that I would never say now. The world has changed immensely, and you have to be more responsible when you're on the air now. No, I don't think he should be fired, but I don't think the producer should have ever let it happen. Ever. And I never called for him to be fired. I read both sides of what the account was. Then you can judge what you want.
Who are we firing?
Me.
God, I hope not. Show's over.
I mean, I have to be honest, Nix, you actually, and the reason I don't even want to watch chat, you bring me down. When I look at the chats and all you do is bitch and complain for 4 hours every day. The NBA sucks. When's the last time you watched an NBA game? That's what I'd like to know. Because you tell us how bad it is and load management, but how often do you watch? Did you catch any of the game last night between Orlando and Atlanta? Never come across someone so damn negative. Yeah, you. Exactly. You, Nix. You is who I'm talking to. Specifically. You are a very negative human being. You bring me down.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Mark Packer, Orlando Alzugaray, Alejandro Solana to join us. beginning in about 40 minutes' time. All our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. So did you see the nice gesture that was made last night in Minnesota?
I did not.
So the Wild are playing Anaheim, final game of the regular season for the Wild. They need a point to make the playoffs. They scored the tying goal with 21 seconds left in regulation. Once the game went to overtime, Minnesota was assured of their point, and they were assured of their spot in the playoffs. At that moment, their head coach takes their starting goalie out and puts in 40-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury. Because the regular season's over and the playoffs are about to start, and, you know, the backup goalie doesn't get a whole lot of play in the playoffs. I mean,
if he does, things have gone horribly wrong for the starter.
Right. And so the plan is that Marc-Andre Fleury is not going to play a minute in the playoffs. And so they took the starter out and they put Fleury in for the overtime. And as he said afterwards, it was nice to get a few more minutes out there on the ice. That was really nice. And then when the game was over, Minnesota won in overtime. You had the Anaheim players who came over and shook his hand. He's a very popular guy within the league. Been in the league for nearly 20 years, has taken multiple teams to the finals, won one with Pittsburgh. I think he was on at least one of the other Penguins teams that won, but I think he had been replaced as the starter by Matt Murray. But it was just a nice, nice gesture. Just like I think the Islanders and the Caps played last night, and it was probably Matt Martin's last game as an Islander. And he's a fourth-line grinder, but he's an outstanding third, fourth-line guy. He's given the Islanders 10-plus years. In the game, guys respect the hell out of the Matt Martins of the world. And when the game was over, the Caps players went over and they shook his hand. And they're like, hey, man, because he was crying at his locker before the game, in the morning skate. He was asked, what's it been like to be an Islander? And a grown man was crying. I mean, he knows they're not going to re-sign him. His career may be over, or he's going to have to go play somewhere else. And he's never played anywhere else. So, I don't know, just some classy gestures in the NHL here in the last day or so.
Very much so. One other gesture's been made north of the border that shows you just how big hockey is in Canada. There is a French language leaders debate that is scheduled for tonight to air on television throughout Quebec.
Okay.
It was supposed to start at 8:00.
Right.
The Canadians are hosting the Carolina Hurricanes.
Right.
At 7:00.
Canadians with a point in their final game of the year, a point of any kind, clinch a playoff spot.
The French language leaders debate has been moved from an 8:00 start to a 6:00 start. It will interfere with the game. The debate will run from 6 until 8 p.m. with Les Habitants beginning at 7. I imagine that the second half of the debate's numbers will not do very well.
Why can't they just push it back a day?
I mean, this is for their national elections. This is
right. No, it's a big deal.
But a statement put out said citizens will be able to catch this crucial moment in the election campaign while also following the decisive periods of the hockey game that could put the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. The election's April 28th.
When Jesse Ventura became governor of Minnesota, I have no idea why they scheduled this, but it was during the 98 football season, obviously the fall, and the Vikings get off to that great start on their way to the 15-1 regular season and so close to going back to the Super Bowl. And a debate was scheduled, Mark, on a Sunday afternoon. And the topic was education. And the leading candidate for governor, the Democrat, although in Minnesota, I think it's like DLC or something. There's like a hyphen and I don't know. But basically, the Democrat, who I think was the lieutenant governor and was probably going to win. He doesn't show up for the debate. He goes to the Vikings game. He campaigns around the Metrodome, shakes hands for 2 hours. Figures he's going to win more votes doing that. And thank you. Somebody from the area, correct. DFL is what it's known for. I think it's the F, I think is for farmers. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that was dead blinking last.
So
maybe that's just here. I don't know.
But Ventura turned it into a positive. Ventura was the one that said, I'm as big a Viking fan as anybody, but are the Vikings more important than the education of our kids? And he ran ads on it for the next 2 weeks. And I'll be damned if he didn't go from third to first and become governor. And took the whole debate conflict with a big sporting event, only this time he used it to his advantage.
So a couple of hockey stories on the nice side, one on the political side, that they're moving a debate a couple of hours early so that the Canadiens game gets its due as the Habitants are trying to make the postseason against Carolina.
They needed to move the debate to tomorrow. Honestly, not a couple hours forward. They needed to move it a day.
You're probably right.
This is the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I will say it's not the Leafs, but in that part of Canada, it's the biggest thing going.
Right, but like for a French-speaking debate, kind of big in Quebec.
Right.
Where Montreal's still number one. And there's not a number two.
Miller and Moulton. But NBA play-ins have started. NHL regular season technically ends tomorrow. 15 of the 16 playoff spots have been assured. If Montreal gets a point tonight, they're in. If they lose in regulation tonight, Columbus, by winning their last game of the year, could make their way into the playoffs. And whoever is the last wild card in the East will get Ovechkin and the Caps.
And that gets started,
I think, Saturday.
Saturday we begin the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I know we begin at Saturday. They haven't released the schedule as to what games are going to be Saturday and what games are going to be Sunday.
But we're going to get the Panthers and Lightning. I wouldn't put any stock into last night's game whatsoever if you're a Lightning fan. Barkov didn't play. A couple others didn't play. I would imagine this Tkachuk guy will be back for the postseason.
Funny how that'll work out. Both Tkachuks will likely be ready for the weekend. Funny how that works out. I will say, how about the story that is Landeskog in Colorado? He hasn't played since they won the Cup. It's almost 3 full years that he hasn't played.
And just started rehabbing with the AHL team this past week.
Remarkable. Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton.
DC, that election, though, Arnie Carlson was the DFL candidate. It was Arnie Carlson, Norm Coleman, and Jesse Ventura. At least that's how my memory has it. Could be wrong. Just like I got Mark Andrews and Justin Tucker confused an hour ago. And that was not good for Mark Andrews. Well, RCB, they'd have to convince them in like the next 48 hours because they have to set their rosters. It was Humphrey? God, I thought it was Arnie. Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour when Mark Packer will join the show. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Broadcasting live from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. Our poll question, Wink Martindale died yesterday, the game show host, not the football coach. And so we're asking you, best game show of all time. We think that the Mount Rushmore game shows are fairly obvious, not that there aren't good ones, but to us, it's Price is Right, Wheel, Jeopardy, Family Feud. So we ask you of the four, which one do you like best? I voted Price is Right. Mark?
I did as well. It was tough. It was between Price is Right and the Feud. I love the Feud. But Price is Right, that's, many a day missing school as a kid when you were sick or convinced your parents you were sick and could stay home. Because I was a latchkey kid. My parents both worked, so I was home alone a lot. And our moms were very different. My mom was never feeling the television to see if it was warm. Do you know why? Because when she walked in, it was on.
Yeah. But then again, I couldn't miss school, though. My mom was a school nurse. Now, she was never my school nurse. All right. She worked in a different district. But, I mean, if I missed one day a year sick, it was a lot. I mean, I did K through 12 and missed like 8 days of school.
Yeah, my wife is big on that with our daughter, this perfect attendance thing. And I'm like, why? If we want to leave on a Friday to get out of town, why does my daughter have to go to school that day? She's got to go. Okay. You say so.
Yeah, it's funny. I transitioned quickly going to college. It's kind of like, well, wait, I'm paying. Oh, then I can do what I want.
Can I ask you a question about the draft?
Yeah, of course.
And about your team specifically, because they have spent a lot of time with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
And I believe, obviously it appears by all accounts that Cam Ward's going to be taken first. So the draft then begins with Cleveland. And are they going to take Travis Hunter, which it looks like they are? Would they take Abdullah Carter? And does that even matter to the Giants, who are at 3, who I think would love to get, but they're talking to Sanders a lot, and we know they need a quarterback. But how big of a mistake in your eyes are they making if they take Sanders at 3? Or are they making a mistake?
I mean, their jobs are on the line. They need to draft a quarterback. And let me ask you this. If you need a quarterback, if the one thing you have to come out of this draft with is a quarterback, don't you then take him right away?
Yes, you do. You take him at 3.
Now, the thing I don't like is that there seems to be disagreement within the organization. That's what I don't like, because there are certain parts of the organization I don't trust. Also, apparently ownership's involved. Boy. I mean, I'd bore the hell out of everybody, but I can go on a quick 10-year rant about all the mistakes that John Mara has made. And he's made some doozies. Doozies. All right? Some of which have not gotten a lot of publicity and should have. But he forced Coughlin out. I mean, it started there. How have they done since Tom Coughlin? And I know Tom Coughlin's not everybody's cup of tea. He was in New York. He was in New York. Eli Manning stood in the back of that press conference room and cried as Coughlin was forced out as head coach. But so I got real problems. I don't have any faith in the owner. I don't have any faith in the general manager. I'd really just want to know, what does Daboll think? Who does Daboll want? I have faith in the head coach. I think he can coach. I think he can groom quarterbacks. Hell, he got a playoff year and a playoff victory out of Daniel Jones. I think that should make him halfway to Canton, for goodness sakes. What a good job that is. He took a 6-win roster at best and made the playoffs and won a road playoff game against a 13-win team. He's the only guy I think who's proven he can do his damn job.
All right. If you were the GM of your favorite team, who would you draft at 3? And let's just say, for sake of argument, what the reports are true, that Travis Hunter goes 2 to Cleveland.
Yeah, I would take Abdul Carter. I would take Abdul Carter, and I would trade back in at some point and get one of the other quarterbacks. I am not sold on Shedeur. I'm not. He doesn't have a super strong arm. Not that you need one to be an NFL quarterback, but he doesn't have a super strong arm. He holds on to the ball a long time. That's not the offensive line to break that habit behind. Okay? I also don't necessarily want to play him right away. And I feel as if, Mark, if you take him at 3, you got to play him. Whereas if you take somebody anywhere else, trade back into the first round, take him with the second overall pick of the second round, that you can handle them differently.
And David, it's fascinating because where you trade back into the first round, if Sanders doesn't go there, and maybe New Orleans takes him at 9.
Which I think they would.
But then you look at where you can get a quarterback, because Pittsburgh's there at 21. What are the Steelers going to do at that point? Are they going to go with Dart or Milroe or the kid from Louisville? I don't know. But to me, the spot would be, and this is a pretty big game of chess you're playing, is I would be looking to trade with the Vikings if I were the Giants.
At 24.
Vikings don't have a second-round pick.
In fact, they only have 4 draft picks in the whole damn draft.
But nothing in the second round. So I would be looking at 24 because the Giants have 2 third-round picks and obviously the first pick of the second round, or the second pick rather, of the second round. So I would be eyeing up the Vikings if I were to come back in and get my quarterback, David.
Here's the other thing that bothers me. Why do you have to work him out one final time? Why do you need one more meeting with him? And I'm serious. You saw every game he played last year. Nobody scouted Colorado more than the Giants. No one. You saw every game he played last year. You met with him at the combine. You've already worked him out once. You've had dinner with him. Why all of a sudden this? Seriously, what the hell don't you already know? I mean, unless you're just scared, flat out scared to make this pick. I don't know why you're even meeting with him 8-9 days out from the draft. How could you not know?
I was listening to a little bit of NFL radio yesterday, and I don't remember who said it. I think it was Murray, Bruce Murray, that does a show. He described what the Giants are doing like going to buy jewelry for your girlfriend or wife. You go in there, you're going to spend more than you want to spend, and you leave the store. And then you come back and look at it again. And then you come back and look at it a third time. Nothing's changed. And I thought that was a really accurate. There's, no buyer's remorse yet because they haven't bought anything. But they're seemingly it seems as if, David, they're trying to talk themselves into drafting Shedeur Sanders. That somebody is pressuring someone to draft him. And it could be John Mara.
Do I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL? I do. Now, do I think he's a starting quarterback in New York with a bad team to start off with for his first couple years? Yeah, I'm not so sure. Remember, Eli's second year, when they made him the starter full time, that team won 11 games and won a division title. They made the playoffs in year 3, year 4, year 5 also. Missed the playoffs in year 7, they won 10 games. Won the Super Bowl in year 8. You know what I'm getting at here? Eli walked into a situation of a team that was pretty damn good, or was about to be in an hour. Shedeur Sanders is not walking into that spot.
Now, with the quarterbacks they've signed, they could draft Shedeur Sanders and not play him at all next year.
You can't do that if you're drafting the guy third.
Why?
Why? Because part of the allure of drafting a quarterback that high is using his cheap years to make the team around you better. You're not making him better. You're not going to play him. So now he's going to be halfway through his rookie contract before you put him on the field?
But you could do with him similar to what they did with Eli. He doesn't need to play until the middle of the season.
I hear you.
One thing I like about Sanders is I think he throws the most catchable ball. I think he throws a really catchable ball. I hate the fact of how long he holds on to the ball. It's very Caleb Williams-esque. And I want to see if Williams can break that habit this year in Chicago and what Ben Johnson does to help him break that habit. But that's my worry with Sanders. And like you said, Daboll can coach quarterback. So I think he could help him get rid of that bad habit.
I also, Mark, don't know. See, this is another reason why, to me, if I'm the owner, I am begging John Mara at this point. Can we give everybody extensions? I mean, if we're going to commit to Sanders, then commit with this guy as coach, with this guy as quarterback coach, okay, with this guy as GM. If we're going to go down, can we go down together? I mean, the NFC East schedules this year are hard. I don't know that the Giants are going to be favored in 4 games this year.
And I don't know if that matters. I mean, to be honest with you, David, if they are bad this year and at the top of the draft, that's okay too, because they're in a total rebuild.
And see, to me, I don't think the Giants are doing this to try to drive up his price so that the Saints move up to 3. because I don't think they had to.
By the way, if you're the Patriots and it goes Ward, Hunter, Sanders, are you running up to take Abdul Carter, or are you still wanting to get the tackle to protect May?
No, I think you're taking Abdul Carter.
I think you are too. I think you're running to the podium to get that pick in.
Now, I think they're going to take 13 seconds to make their pick anyway. They're going to take Abdul Carter. They're going to take the tackle from LSU. I think it's going to take Jacksonville 13 seconds to take Mason Graham.
So I'm interested now. You know, the Cleveland is the start of this. What do they do? But the Giants and their flirtation with Shedeur Sanders, is it real? Is it a hoax? If it's a hoax, what the hell for? What are they trying to do with these late visits? It confuses the hell out of me.
Mark, I don't need to work him out anymore. Honestly, at this point, I may need to just go to dinner with him, spend a day and a half just by his side. Okay, I'm more interested in what kind of person is he going to be? Are you going to be able to handle the storm that we're about to drop you into? Because trust me, you know, this ain't Jackson State. This ain't Boulder. Okay?
And I think to your point, and I'm not saying he's not his own man, but he's always had the coach, dad, to bail him out in a press conference. Those days are over when you get to New York. So I was just curious, your thoughts as a Giants fan, because it's looking like this is a distinct possibility of the Giants taking Shedeur Sanders.
Now, I think Dion could have handled New York with no problem, but that doesn't necessarily mean his son could. Mark Packer's next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, tadalafil, and Viagra, sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made, at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, will fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I agree with you, Nix. Arch is staying 2 more years. Totally agree with you. Doesn't need the money. Wants to fully develop to be the best pro quarterback he can be. His uncles, Peyton and Eli, both stayed 4 years. I totally agree.
Mark's on.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we are halfway home with Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks for being with us as we get over it together. The Big O, our version of the Big O, Orlando Alzugaray, will join us in a little more than 30 minutes' time to complain about the Dolphins and everything that they're doing this offseason. We'll look ahead to the Heat's win-or-go-home game tonight with Alejandro Solana 1 hour from now. But joining us on the American Paint Supplies hotline is Mark Packer, he of ACC Network. The show is ACC PM, weekdays at 4 o'clock. You can follow Mark on X at Mark Packer, Packer. Mark, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this again. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hope life's treating you well.
It is. Thank you. By the way, and even though we don't know one another except to talk to each other from afar, I hope you know we're not, we don't kiss but just to be nice to our guests. But I do need to compliment you on your interview with Jim Nantz the day before the Final Four, in which I don't want to say it was a good interview, but you asking the questions and him answering were both emotional by the end of the interview. It was riveting. It was beautiful. I thought you did a great job.
Well, listen, like anything else, you kind of get out of the way and let the stars be the stars, right? I mean, you learn that in this business very quickly, that you're not the focal point of the interview. And Jim has been a close friend to the family for a long, long time. And I thought he opened up. He didn't have to. In fact, he didn't even have to do the interview because I know he was going in 8,000 different directions, especially with the beloved Houston Cougars in the Final Four, that opportunity. And he's just a wonderful guy and an incredible broadcaster. And if you watch the Masters on Sunday and how all that unfolded with Rory McIlroy, I thought it was riveting television. And quite frankly, by not saying anything, it made it even better. So I think maybe we can all learn a lesson.
Yeah, 5 minutes and 7 seconds. They stepped away and let the pitchers do the job, and it was perfect, to say the least. All right, I'm curious, yesterday, college football filed their new corporation to oversee the College Sports Commission. They're going to have some power, supposedly, in this new House versus NCAA settlement. What is it you know about that, and do you think it means a hill of beans?
Listen, it's the same people in charge, right, that want to stay in charge. And, guys, I got to be honest with you. This transfer portal news today will be crazy throughout the course of the day. It's crazy every day, but now it's like another green light special. And you see a guy like Jade Knott, ironically, who's a terrific running back from Cal, said he's going to Oklahoma. I just had Justin Wilcox, their head coach, on the show last Thursday or Friday, and asked him about his spring game and brought up Jade Knott. He said, he looks great. He's in great shape. And next thing you know, he's gone. And so, I mean, we're living in a world in which when there are no rules or regulations, it's going to be crazy. And so let's be honest, the SEC and the Big Ten are the power brokers here, and so are their television partners, which would be ESPN and Fox. And where this thing goes, I got no idea, but every single day we're closer to saying, hey, this is the NFL light, or this is the NBA light, or fill in the blank. So at some point in time, there's got to be some rules and regulations. I don't know what this commission is going to do, but I hope that anybody with any kind of integrity finally gets in charge and starts laying down some ground rule before this thing gets to the point where, hey, there's only a handful of teams that quite frankly can compete at the level when there's no rules or regulations. So I think from a fan's perspective, from a player's perspective, it can be a win-win scenario, but you've got to have some leadership. You got to have some rules in place. And whatever this commission is, again, I'm always wary of anything that involves a committee. I hope it heads in the right direction because we certainly need it.
Mark Packer, ACC Network, his show weekdays 4 to 6, ACC PM. Follow him on X at Mark Packer, Packer. All right. There are no bigger control freaks, maybe in our society, than big-time college football coaches. And what we don't understand, Mark, is why the coaches aren't screaming for one of two things. How about contracts so that the Cal coach knows he can't lose his guy to Oklahoma or anywhere else. Why? Because he's under contract. I mean, Mark, you can't go to Fox next week. Why is it that they're not insisting on two things? Being able to know what their roster's going to be, at least somewhat, and then at what point do they want to control costs? I mean, I know there's a lot of money in big-time college athletics, but if you think of what the budgets were 2 years ago to what they are now to what they're going to be in 2 years from now, I mean, this isn't inflation. This is out of control.
That would be correct. And I think at some point in time, David, that's what will happen. What we just saw with Nico and Tennessee over the past weekend was inevitable. I mean, I'm be honest with you, I'm surprised it took this long. But I do think at some point in time, like I said, there will eventually be some person or a group of people that will step up and take a true leadership role and say, hey, listen, enough of this. We're ruining this sport to the point of no return. And if you want it to look like the NFL, hey, if that's the goal, hey, you're on your way. And not that the NFL is bad. It's the 200,000-pound gorilla in this country, but you're not going to be the NFL. I mean, if I want the NFL, I'll watch the NFL. This basically is a terrible version of the NFL is what this thing's turning into. And we've lost sight for what, education, if that word's ever used again anymore in college athletics. So I think at some point in time, David, that the real movers and shakers that finally have a front row seat are going to get together and say, hey, guys, we've got to end this. We got to come up with some rules and regulations because eventually if you just want to turn this thing into, hey, there's only 10 to 20 teams in America that can afford to be in the college football business, hey, that's all fine and good, but I got news for you. America eventually will find something better to do if it's just the same old, same old. And that's what I'm afraid of. And you better start waking up to that fact that better be a priority for everybody involved, whether you're the head coach at Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, or Roast Beef A&M. That needs to be done yesterday. So I'm with you. I think it makes a ton of sense what you're saying. But at some point in time, again, true leadership's got to come to the forefront.
And without the leadership, Roast Beef U is going to go sign Nico for $3 million. He's going to get more money than he was getting at Tennessee. And all that's going to do, Mark, is show the rest of the kids that are in college that, hey, if I leave after spring, I'll get paid too. I mean, part of the problem here is that the Roast Beefs U of the world still have enough money to go pay these guys. And I'm, reading about Nico's that, he wanted $4 million. I don't know if he'll get $4 million, but from the looks of it, he's going to get more than he was getting at Tennessee. And that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Well, I mean, listen, I am all for everybody getting paid, whether we're talking about a student athlete or a radio show host or whatever the case. I'm pro-capitalistic society, but there's got to be some rules in place. I mean, there's got to be some repercussions that if you as an adult make a decision, it doesn't mean it's always a great decision, right? I mean, if you take the risk that, hey, I've got $2 million in my back pocket here at Tennessee, and I'm going to play the role of, hey, I'm bigger than the program, I'm going to leave. There may be a repercussion that nobody wants you, that you're now working second shift at McDonald's and making sure my fries are hot. But right now it doesn't feel like that's the case. And I don't know where he'll end up. I don't know what he'll get paid. I hope at the end of the day he ends up somewhere where he can play and, more importantly, get an education where he could be a decent person in society once this football thing's over with. So I don't know. And I don't know if the Roast Beef A&Ms have that kind of money, David. That's the other thing. I mean, in all likelihood, the Roast Beef A&M school doesn't have $3 million to fork over to a player. In fact, that athletic director at that school is looking around going, do I even need to have college football? Because I do think until there's some damn leadership in place, there's going to be a lot of schools in America that go, quite frankly, we simply cannot compete, and financially makes zero sense for us to be in the college football business. And to me, that's not a good situation for, number one, players, fans, television institutes. I mean, you name it. I think it's got a trickle-down effect. So, everybody's going to get fat and happy at the top, And I get that, but man, you better be really, really careful that you just don't literally ruin the sport for everybody else.
Got a couple minutes left before a hard break, Mark. A list came out. It's a bit of a guesstimate as to the college basketball programs that have spent the most money so far on bringing transfers in. 2 of the top 10 are ACC schools in Miami and Virginia. Here's my question. Is there enough money in the ACC because they're trying to upgrade their football product, which last year was pretty good, but as we saw this regular season, they need to work on their basketball product too.
Yeah, it's across the board, David. It's got to be a full commitment. And, that's a tough call for an AD. What works maybe at North Carolina doesn't work at Boston College, for argument's sake. So, schools are going to have to make that commitment that, hey, we want to be a football school. We want to be a football and a basketball school, and then act accordingly. And hopefully this NCAA House Committee, this deal getting down for $20 million for everybody will help the situation. But the league is certainly playing behind what the SEC and the Big Ten can do. So, I think each individual school will have to figure out what is in their best interest. And if Virginia wants to get back to being the Tony Bennett era, hey, you know what? It's going to cost you to be a part of that. You're watching it right now at Louisville. I think what Pat Kelsey's doing and what they've done in the transfer portal has been important, and basketball is important to them. So I think each individual school will have to make that call. And again, what works at one school doesn't necessarily make it the same at somewhere else. And that will be the interesting thing to watch in the ACC for sure.
Mark Packer, ACC Network. His show, 4 to 6 weekdays, is ACC PM. Follow him on X at Mark with a K, Packer, Packer. Mark, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Hope all is well with you and your family.
You got it, David. Appreciate it very much. Take care of yourself.
Mark Packer, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Very quickly, Mark, college basketball so far, money spent this offseason just on transfers.
Right.
Michigan, just under $9 million. Kentucky 7.6. Maryland and Miami tied for third at just over 7. Iowa at 6.6. Virginia at 6.2. Then Washington and 3 Big East schools, Creighton, Georgetown, and Xavier, all at around $5.5 million. Now that's just on transfers. That's not even paying your guys to come back.
Texas Tech, LSU, Auburn, also schools that are spending a bunch of money that are in the neighborhood of what we were talking about. Miller and Moulton. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. The Big O, our version of it, Orlando Alzugaray, to join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time to talk the Dolphins and, quite frankly, what the heck is going on? Are they as clueless as they appear? Or is there a method to the madness? The Big O doesn't pull any punches. He'll join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time.
Text lines open at 21,000. And trust me, you can text about whatever you'd like, and the odds are I'm going to respond. Like this gentleman, who, when we did our one segment on the NFL draft that we've done today out of 7 segments on the show, he responded with the following. I'm so done with NFL draft talk. So thankful for public radio. It's always been your choice, sir. When I told him we did one segment out of 6 on the draft, it's 8 days away, and what would you prefer that we talk about? He said I could stand the draft talk if the draft really worked, but we all know it doesn't. How many people drafted in the 24 draft will be in the league at the end of the 28 season? Or how many will be with the teams that drafted them? To make a point, when was Bart Starr drafted? 1956. When was Tom Brady drafted? When was Mr. Irrelevant drafted by San Francisco? Wants us to talk more worldwide sports, so the soccer segment upcoming.
One of the topics yesterday was the Braves reporter who, and if by chance you missed the story, they're in Toronto and they've got a bar in Sky Dome, and there's 2 attractive young ladies sitting in the front row of the bar watching the game. And the one lady has a Braves something on, so he knows she's a Braves fan. He asked the other young lady, are you a Braves fan? She goes, no, but I come and I meet my friend for 1 game a year. Oh, okay. And then his play-by-play and analyst in the booth are encouraging him to get the digits, get the phone number of at least one of the women sitting there. And so he does. And he does, and they left his mic open. And she gave him her phone number. Well, some people freaked out.
Oh, yeah, they did.
And the first people to freak out were a lot of female television reporters. Did you see what Kevin Harlan's daughter, I think it's Olivia is her name, all right? And she's at the highest level. She's at the network level reporting. And she came out and basically said, guys, lighten up. All right? We're killing a minute in a 3-hour baseball game. We're trying to have some fun. Okay? Come on now. All right.
I mean, it's easy for her to say anything she wants. She probably got an edge in the business, because her dad's in it.
No doubt. But
nepotism is huge in the broadcasting business.
It is. It is. And no doubt it helped that Kevin Harlan is her dad. Okay. But she had to keep the jobs. And she's been at the network level now for over a decade. So, but I thought it was interesting because a lot of female reporters were the first to say, if a woman did this to 2 men, she'd lose her job. And Ms. Harlan there was like, no. And we all need to lighten up a little bit.
Besides, they don't want to date anybody in the crowd. They'd rather date the athlete.
Right. Right. I mean, don't know what those 2 guys are making. I know exactly what the guys on the field are making.
Damn right.
But
much better tax bracket.
My understanding is they did not go back to that storyline, though, during the broadcast last night. But obviously, they turn the Braves due to their reporter for the hard-hitting issues of the day, because I don't know if you saw, but one inning he spent with a running dialogue with another fan riding a hot dog seesaw during the Braves-Jays game.
Well, baseball is the one interesting broadcast of the third person in the booth, the field reporter, because they don't get on, in football, the sideline reporter is going to do a couple of coaches. The basketball sideline reporter is doing coaches and players. I mean, the basketball sideline reporter actually probably, to me, works the most as to helping the broadcast. The baseball is there purely for amusement.
I mean, the networks try to use them in a serious way. It's the local/regional baseball broadcasts that oftentimes will try to yuck it up with their sideline person, male or female.
I remember it was a few years ago now, but the young kid gets the foul ball. He's sitting in row one down the third baseline. And the ball boy, ball girl, or whatever gives him the ball. He proceeds to turn around and give it, and he was 10, 11 years old. He turns around and proceeds to give the ball to a very attractive young lady who was more like 20 or 25.
Right.
And damned if the sideline reporter didn't end up interviewing that kid. That's what they do for the local baseball broadcast.
Right. Right. Let's have some fun here. It's a 2.5-hour baseball game. I mean, I don't know if anybody paid attention last night, but there were 4 shutouts last night. I mean, sometimes there's not a lot going on in these games. Plus, not only that, the whole Savannah Bananas thing. I mean, I'd have a hard time criticizing any Major League Baseball team or broadcast that's emphasizing fun right now. Because this Savannah Bananas thing is a phenomenon. And Mark, what is the number one thing they emphasize most of all? Fun. So, but I just thought it was, worth bringing up. Remember, Mark, follow-ups.
Absolutely.
Audience loves follow-ups.
And I'm not surprised they didn't address it. I've got to think that somebody up high was meeting with producers and play-by-play guys very early yesterday morning.
Yeah, and they said one of two things. They said, hey, we loved it, okay, but just let it go. If a situation like that happens again, please know we have you back. Or they said, let's not go there again. We got your back. Nobody's in trouble, but let's not go there again. Oh, okay.
Now, when we see 40 men going to baseball games, dressed a little nicer, walking around with a fake microphone, we may have a problem.
Right. Which is what the Braves broadcasters hinted about, that maybe all these years they should have been walking around with a microphone at the baseball games and tried to add to their social life that way. Miller and Moulton. So the Heat are in a win or their season's over situation tonight in Chicago. We'll talk to Alejandro Solana coming up in a half an hour. He's part of their radio network. But coming up next, are the Dolphins falling apart? Are they rudderless? Do they have an idea? Orlando Alzugaray's thoughts on the Dolphins next. Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes away from our bonus hour. Alejandro Solana to join us then. Heat Radio Network. Miami in a win-or-go-home game tonight. Play-in situation in Chicago. Win, and they'll go to Atlanta on Friday to try to continue their season and work their way into the playoffs. Lose, and the season is over. Orlando Alzugaray is kind enough to join us. You know, Big O Show, Big O Radio Show. Follow him on X at Big O Show. You can get the show. It's podcasted, broadcasted live beginning at 10 a.m. most days, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it, you can find it. Big O Radio Show. He is the Big O. Orlando, we know health-wise you've had some struggles recently. We hope that you and your family are well. How are you?
I am doing great. Can't complain, my brother. Sometimes there's speed bumps in life, health-wise, career-wise, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you find ways to overcome, my friends. That's what you do. You don't give in, you overcome. And that's what we do. The Dolphins don't do that, but we
Well, you took us to where obviously we want to go. Big O, what the hell is going on?
There's no direction, my brother. I mean, you really don't know what's going on anymore. And I think everything they tried didn't work. The way they went about it, unfortunately, didn't work. Look, a lot of Dolphins fans may not want to hear this, but this is the brutal honesty, and I've talked about it on my show. Where you went, I'm going to talk about today on my show. I'm going to preview a little bit of this. When you look at the Steelers, okay, it doesn't matter who the damn coach is. There's a philosophy. There's a direction. There's a way we're going to do things. When you're at the Baltimore Ravens, there's a philosophy. There's a way we're going to do things. The Green Bay Packers. It's amazing. You and I grew up with the way the Green Bay Packers develop their quarterbacks. You draft them, they don't do anything. They just sit there and learn first and foremost. And it works out for them. It's been going for 30 years now. And nobody else does it, which is amazing because that's how everybody used to do it. But when you're the Packers, you have a philosophy. You have a way of doing things. Doesn't matter who the coach has been. Doesn't matter who the general manager has been. And so with the Miami Dolphins, you used to have a face and a philosophy. It did change at times. And once he veered off that initial philosophy, everybody else has kind of veered off that philosophy. And that philosophy is you got to win at the line of scrimmage. And the Dolphins, when they really won in the 70s, they won at the line of scrimmage. And when they had Dan Marino, they did not win at the line of scrimmage. And that's why they had a little tiny bit of success. But in all their big stages, they failed miserably because they couldn't win at the line of scrimmage. And so the problem is the Dolphins have gone about the wrong way philosophically. And under Chris Greer, if you look at the talent that's gone through under Chris Greer, McKenzie, who's no longer here and now in Tennessee, and Marvin Allen, there's been a lot of talent that's come through. But they at times haven't kept the right ones and have kept the wrong ones. And then he has appeased his coaches. And the problem is when you change head coaches, you change philosophies. When you constantly change offensive coaches, defensive coaches, you change philosophies. And again, instead of having one way of thinking, we are the Steelers, okay? This is how we do things. We will get people that coach and do things the way we want to do them. This is our identity. And when you're a franchise that finds your identity, whether you're Andy Reid or wherever it's at, you will have a foundation. We have it here with the Miami Heat. We have it here with the Florida Panthers. Certain teams have been able to establish a foundation, a way of doing things, and then the players can change and even the coaches can change. But the way we do things will stay the same way, because every time you have a philosophical change and a scheme change, this player doesn't fit, that player doesn't fit, this salary must be moved, that salary cap must be taken, the hit must be taken. It just sets you back, and you can't keep doing that. Under Mike McDaniel, they've had, several defensive coaches now. 4, I think, if I'm correct. 3 or 4, I think it is. Under Brian Flores, you had like 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators and offensive line coaches. And then everybody wants to do things different ways. No, I do zone blocking. No, I do man-on-man. And this cannot happen.
Well, ultimately,
you must have a philosophy and follow it. And because of that, you are discombobulated. You don't know what direction you're going in, and you find yourself as a rudderless ship in a meaningless season.
And this ultimately falls back to Greer then, but part of it is Stephen Ross. And I would ask you, Orlando, do you think he's been a good owner? Because he's given football people a lot of time in a lot of respects. He's given them the money to do things, but does he ultimately have a philosophy how to run the team? And it certainly seems that he doesn't. He's put the trust in Greer, and Greer's failed, hasn't he?
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's been. He put his trust in whoever he's put his trust in. He hasn't been able to put the right combination. You go in there, you take over, and you put the right person. You say, okay, I'm buying the team. Let me go find Pat Riley, and I never have to think about it again. The Panthers were a rudderless ship for 20 years. And then Viola and Sifu took over, and eventually it just got better and better, and they figured out Talon wasn't the guy, and they went and got the right GM, and then the rest is history. And now you've got yourself, a culture, winning, and everything's in place. He has not been able to find the right combination, unfortunately. So, yeah, it falls on the owner because this is a long time that he's been failing. It falls on Greer because, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to hire the right coach. There's been a lot of good players come through, a lot of good, personnel decisions. There's been some bad ones. Of course, you're going to make some bad ones. But overall, the last couple of years, you had some of your best rosters you've had in decades, maybe. But the problem is you didn't have the right coach. And that's the Jalen Ramsey thing yesterday. There's no mutual in that. That's the player saying, I want the hell out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. This is not going in the right area, and I don't have much left in my career. I'd rather go somewhere where I think I'm going to win. And that's why Calais Campbell, didn't come back. And that's why Javon Holland was more than happy to leave. And, this is why Reggie McKenzie says, I'm going to Tennessee. Yeah, sure, he's from Tennessee and all that. But if he was going to win here, he would have stayed here another year. But he goes to Tennessee where they're rebuilding, and he's going to be a consultant. That just tells you everything you need to know. Everybody's bailing because they know this is a sinking ship.
Big O Radio Show. He is the Big O, Orlando Alzugaray. Follow him on X at Big O Show. So you think that Greer lied yesterday, that Ramsey, in fact, does want out, and that Greer fell on the sword in a way and tried to keep his trade value, I guess, as high as he could get it.
Right. When they asked him about leaders, he couldn't even really come up because there's not much left, anymore. And, what's he going to, he has to paint, a positive spin on anything that they asked him yesterday. But all of it, and let's be honest, man. I like Chris Greer. I like the front office guys. But that was a defeated man yesterday. That was a defeated man yesterday at that podium. Come on. Who are we kidding? You know what I mean? Because there's really not much you can hang your hat on. And he knows it, but he has to put a positive spin on it. They're not even spending money, this offseason.
But Orlando, when he does a press conference,
they need a ton of stuff, and they're not going to be able to solve all those holes in the draft.
But, we're not stupid. And I don't mean media. I mean the fans, Orlando. They're not stupid. And when Chris Greer gets up there and says Tyreek Hill's a leader, How can he do that in front of a microphone and expect to get any respect from anyone? He's not a leader. He's a malcontent.
Because at this point, he's so desperate that he has to throw Tyreek out there as a leader so he can play the damn psychological game with the 10-year-old named Tyreek Hill who wears number 10. He has to play that psychological game like, hey, you see, we still think you're a leader and you're important to us, because they have to so desperately hang on to their jobs that they have to count on Tyreek Hill. Think of the insanity of that. They have to count on a man that spends his life producing kids that don't come from his wife on a consistent basis. This is a man that has no loyalty. This is a man that has no responsibility, no leadership, not an ounce of leadership in him. And he had to use that yesterday because he was so desperate, because it's a psychological thing and because he's desperately trying to save his job, just like Mike McDaniel. Meanwhile, everybody's saying, I got to get out of here, because they know McDaniel's not the guy.
Big O, we got about 3 or so minutes left till a hard break. Would you be in favor? You know, the Jets once got rid of a general manager after the draft, and they brought in Joe Douglas. Now, we can debate whether Joe, was a good hire or not. But, I mean, if you were Stephen Ross, do you let Greer handle the draft and then fire him and maybe bring Reggie McKenzie back or bring in somebody new?
Well, McKenzie's gone. He's going to be in Tennessee.
No, I know, but if you offer him the general manager's job, I'm thinking he might come back.
I don't think any of that happens. As I've told everybody on my show, they're 3 years away from the rebuild. As I told everybody, they don't want to make it. They're not trading anybody. They didn't want to trade Jalen Ramsey. They're going to take a $9 million cap hit now if they move Ramsey. It'll be $9 million less they have in order to improve for this year and try to save their jobs. So they don't want to do any of this. They're stuck with a whole bunch of salaries, okay, including Tua's. And they can't get rid of Tyreek till after this year because of the cap hit. The Tua thing, for those of you that want to get rid of Tua, they can't do anything with Tua. They just gave him a contract, so they've got to go through this year and next year and then in the third year. And they've got a couple of other contracts and Chubb and all that other stuff. So you're going to have to go through 2 more years of cap hits, dead cap space, all of that. So it doesn't matter who you hire. Whatever general manager, whatever head coach, they've got to go through the next 2 years of going through all these salaries. We're 3 years away from really starting the rebuild again for the Miami Dolphins. Worst case scenario. Obviously, best case scenario is we're all wrong and McDaniel and Greer have a phenomenal rest of the draft and offseason and they freak us all out and go have a great year. That's the only way, which I don't think it's going to happen. So next year, if all this thing falls apart, which is probably expected, they'll blow the thing up. Whoever comes in has to deal with all the after effects and all the dead cap hits and dead space and all that. And then the following year, that third year, they'll still be dealing with some dead cap space, but then they can kind of start their imprint on everything. So whether you like it or not, because of the fiscal issues to it, they're 3 years away from really cleaning the slate and starting anew anyway. So whoever you bring in at this point is just babysitting and taking punishment for the next year or two on losing and not producing because they're in a position where fiscally they cannot move forward and be competitive and take on the Bills or anybody else.
Orlando Alzugaray, the Big O Radio Show, live 10 a.m. weekdays, podcasted everywhere. Make sure you download it. Nobody covers the South Florida sports scene better with a great exclusive list of guests than Orlando Alzugaray. Follow him on X at Big O Show. Big O Show. Big O, stay healthy. All right. Thanks for your time over the years and continued success.
Anytime, anything for you guys. You all be good out there. Rock on, baby.
Not only does he talk the South Florida sports scene, talks music, and he's big into Bitcoin also. But
yeah, I was late getting him on because we were in a deep discussion about Morrissey, who is the former singer of the Smiths on tour, and the songs he plays in concert and different shows we've seen. I'm like, hey, we're back on the air, Orlando. I gotta get you on now. He's like, all right.
I would love for the two of you to take in a show together. Like go out, have dinner, and then take in a show together.
I'd love to do that. In fact, I'm looking now at this Morrissey show to see if I can get tickets. Because of all the times we've had Orlando on, I've never met him publicly. We've been at a few of the same events, but we've never run into one another.
Miller and Moulton. Orlando and all our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Our poll question today is, with the passing of longtime game show host Wink Martindale, what is the best game show of all time? Right now, you say The Price is Right over Jeopardy, then Family Feud and Wheel. The bonus hours next. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years are behind you. They're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Alex is on.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our poll question with Wink Martindale, the game show host, not the football coach, passing away yesterday at the age of 91. We ask you, what's the best game show of all time? We went with 4 biggies: Wheel, Jeopardy, Price is Right, Family Feud. Vote accordingly. Heat have a win or the season's over situation tonight in Chicago. And if they win, they'll have that very same situation Friday night in Atlanta. Alejandro Solana is part of the Heat Radio Network. He's also part of QAM in Miami. Follow him on X at Alex, the letter M, Solana, Solana. Alex, it's David and Mark. Good morning. How are you?
It's a do or die morning, gentlemen. I'm feeling it. I feel live.
All right. If it's a do moment as opposed to a die moment, what do the Heat have to do tonight, and who has to do it for them?
All right, so the buzzword in Miami the past couple of days, even going back to whenever these two teams played in the last week of the season, the buzzword has been pace. And the reason for that is that the Chicago Bulls, they play fast. They play the second fastest pace in the NBA. And on the other end of that, you have the Miami Heat, who don't play fast. They have the 4th slowest pace in the NBA. So the word you're hearing from everybody, or the strategy tonight, is the Heat are going to figure out a way to pull out this game. Is, well, they have to be able to slow down the Bulls. They have to be able to slow down the Bulls from playing at the pace that Chicago plays at. But here's the problem. We have an 82-game sample size, fellas, of how the Bulls play. And that's fast. So I don't buy into this notion that the Miami Heat today, of all days, are going to figure out a way to play this game in the mud, as they say, when, look, they've had 3 chances against Chicago. They had a pretty important regular season game where everybody was, for the most part, healthy. Andrew Wiggins didn't look totally healthy, but he was out there, and they struggled to slow down Chicago, and the Bulls took it to them in the second half, just like they did in the previous 2 matchups when they ended up winning all 3 in the regular season. So, in my mind, yes, you want to play this game in the mud. You want to put the Bulls on the free throw line a bunch. You want to be the more physical team. I think Miami can play that part, but this idea that they're going to hold the Bulls to 90 points, it's just not going to happen. Chicago has shown you they can put up 105, 110 with ease, probably a lot more, and they're averaging north of 115 against the Heat in 3 regular season games. To me, it's going to come down to shot making from the Miami Heat. Do they want this to be a track meet? No, but they have to go out there and they have to put up points. Tyler Hero has to have one of his best games of the season. He's been playing great. You want that to continue. Bam has to be the guy in the defensive end. We know he will be, but offensively has to show up. And then I'm looking down the roster. Andrew Wiggins. Finally, you're seeing him healthy, we think, in this game. He needs to be the player that the Heat traded for, that 2-way elite player who's going to knock in threes, get to the rim, but also be that one-on-one defender and be great on that end. And then guys like Duncan Robinson, Alec Burks, Davion Mitchell, the guys who are going to get in there, they have to hit threes. To me, if the Heat can shoot around 45%, 40%-ish from 3 while making 15 to 16 of them, that's the key to staying in this ball game.
Over-unders right around 220. So Vegas sees this game as 110, 109, 111, 109, something like that. I do think for the Heat to win, they have to hold Chicago under $110. Listen, you can't say this, and I don't even know if you think it, but Would it really be the worst thing in the world if the Heat lost? I mean, it would be the ultimate truth serum. They went 37-45 in the regular season in a bad East. They finished 10th. They lose to the Bulls, who are not good, who are soft. I mean, doesn't it, it takes all pretense away from where you are as an organization, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I could have this conversation, no doubt, because look, there is the absolute stark reality of, hey, you win this playing game, so what, right? I mean, so what? Even if you beat the Hawks on Friday, nobody's picking the Heat in the first round series against Cleveland. The Cleveland's going to be a 8,000 favorite to win that series. So, like, well, who cares if you win this game to get bounced in the first round again, or to have the opportunity to get bounced in the first round again? And look, there's definitely some truth to that, right? Like, if you're the Heat, you have the 11th worst record in the NBA right now. You lose this game. There's more clarity on where you're going to be drafting. You have a 9.5% chance right now. If you miss the playoffs at landing a top 4 pick. They have a puncher's chance at landing Cooper Flag. Like, there's some truth to that. I'm with you. To them missing the postseason. But here's the problem: the Heat don't own their own first round. Or I'm sorry, the Heat, if they make the playoffs this year, own their first round pick. Do not own their first round pick for this upcoming offseason, right? They already have the Warriors, so they already have one. If the Heat are looking at their assets, and they're saying, okay, we already have one first-round pick for this offseason. And if we miss the postseason and we get another first-round pick, our own, for this upcoming offseason, that means the Heat don't have a first-round pick available to trade going to 2030 because you can't trade first-round picks in multiple years. So this year would be the only one that they would have to trade. Next year, the first-round pick would be going to Oklahoma City. And in 2028, the first-round pick would be going to Charlotte in terms of that awful Terry Rozier trade. And because you can't trade the picks in between those years, because you can't trade them in multiple first in consecutive years, the Heat don't have a first-round pick until 2030. So I think that's why this organization has been so dead set on making the postseason this year, because they don't want to be in that situation. They want the flexibility of being able to control one more pick over the next couple of years. So here's the argument that I make in terms of why the Heat should want to go and reach the playoffs and get a first-round series, even if it means ultimately facing the inevitable, which is a gentleman's sweep or maybe stealing 2 from Cleveland, maybe, right? You have Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. They took the reins of the franchise from Jimmy Butler when he was traded away. The Heat drafted these 2 players. They've been their all-stars. And they said, here, this is your franchise now, even if it's just for the short term until we can go draft somebody else or we can trade for another whale. I want to see what these guys are made of tonight, honestly. And I know it sounds a bit trivial, but, okay, Jimmy Butler's not here. He got them through this playing game. You saw what he did last night with the Golden State Warriors. Are you two good enough as a duo, maybe not to go win the title, but to beat the Chicago Bulls, who are below 500, and truth be told, are a mediocre team? If they're not, then some major questions need to be asked about them being the faces of the franchise. Andrew Wiggins, to me, what do you have there? What do you have with Tyler, Bam, and Andrew? And again, if those 3 can't beat the Bulls and the Hawks in a playing game, then truthfully, what do you have there? Probably nothing moving forward. And then even the young guys, right? Kel'el Ware. I think in Miami, man, everybody's in love with Kel'el Ware, and I'm guilty of it as well. You kind of look at him and you don't know what his ceiling is. But this, to me, would be a perfect opportunity in the first-round series against the 2 big guys over in Cleveland. Like, I want to see what that could look like from a young player. Is he able to go up against those 2 guys and come through and, not necessarily dominate the matchup, but looks like he belongs? That to me is what matters here, right? Like, what do the Heat have? They're clearly not a title contender. They're clearly in a position where they're going to be, I don't know if it's Durant, or I don't know if it's chasing Anthony Edwards in 2026, or trying to take Luka away from the Lakers in 26. I don't know. I don't know who that next, whale or guy they're going to go after, but clearly that's what they're looking forward. Who do they want to keep? Who does that other player want to play around? And I think there's an opportunity to actually find out who that is in a first-round series.
I think those are all great points, but even with you saying that, looking at the outside and you're on the inside, and you may end up being right. I don't see this as a young group that can contend for a title without bringing in another piece. There was a lot of talk, Kevin Durant's moving. Is that the piece? I don't know. So win or lose, going forward to next year, don't you think they're going to have to add something?
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, and that's why, I genuinely believe, who can't you get rid of? And I think that's what, a first-round series could ultimately end up determining for the Miami Heat. Like, there's this notion, anybody but Bam in the past couple off seasons, right? Well, Tyler Hero this season has shown you that, hey, maybe you don't pass up on a 25, 26-year-old just because he's had some, unlucky injuries in the first couple seasons of his career. Because, look, I mean, he's an all-star this year. I'm with you. The Heat, even just Bam and Tyler, right? Those two together, we've seen enough. They're not a title contending duo. They're just not. But if you can keep Tyler and Bam and add that other superstar, can you be close? I think the answer is yes. And to your question of who's that next guy, I don't know. But yeah, there's no doubt that right now, as currently constructed, this Heat team isn't winning an NBA title this year. They're not winning an NBA title next year either, unless they end up drafting Cooper Flag because they get, the luck of the draw, which nobody's expecting. I don't see it, but my main point is, if this offseason Kevin Durant is the only actual attainable superstar, right? If he's really the only guy, are you really trying to go all in on Kevin Durant? Obviously, you'd have to trade Andrew Wiggins because the salaries would have to match. Really, Kevin Durant, and I know I joined you guys a couple weeks ago around the trade deadline, and we were talking about KD, and my take was go all in for Kevin Durant, like anybody but Bam, which is what I told you guys. And here I am, changing my answer and probably playing the result, but look at the way Phoenix ended this season, gentlemen, like a total disaster. KD, outside of one season in Brooklyn where he stepped on the line and it probably cost him a chance to play for a title, has been a disaster everywhere he's gone. This is the fourth coach or fifth coach he's had canned while he's playing for a team outside of Golden State and Oklahoma City. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it's worth giving up young players and multiple draft picks for a guy who's going to be at that age. And does Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo get you closer? Yes. Is it good enough to beat some of the best teams in the NBA right now? I don't know. And truthfully, I don't think the Heat have the type of offer compared to a Houston or compared, even to an Oklahoma City.
Alejandro, we're up against it.
Phoenix. So I just don't know if that's a realistic option.
Alejandro Solana, pre and post, Heat Radio Network, also part of QAM in Miami. Follow him on X at Alex, the letter M, Solana. Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Is there anything more confusing than the NBA draft rules?
No.
Holy cow. I had that up, and I'm trying to figure out if losing is better because they get the pick. And
And even
he answered it. I still don't know what the right answer is, David.
Well, he answered it different ways. So.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts, a pick or two. It's all coming up. So, if you go back to the Super Bowl, terrific ratings. If you go back to the NCAA tournament, terrific ratings. If you go back to the Masters Sunday, highest rated golf tournament of any kind in 7 years. Even more people watched than watched Tiger win in 2019. So the big events have done very well so far this year. Let's keep that in mind, Mark, a couple months from now when we get to Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals. That will the big events continue, because even the NCAA women's final, I mean, if you compare it to the Caitlin Clark finals, it didn't do well. You compare it to non-Caitlin Clark finals, it did spectacularly well. So outside of a phenomenon, all the big events here in the last 3.5 months have done really, really well. I mention that because, well, the NBA regular season's over.
Right.
Play-in tournament started last night.
Yep.
NBA ratings nationally down 2% from last year. If you look at ABC games, largely Saturday nights, but obviously Christmas, some Sundays. ABC games, ESPN games, which are Wednesday, Friday, I believe, and TNT games. Those ratings were down 2%. The average NBA game on those three networks did 1.5 million people. Just to let you know. But here's something, Mark, which I think would be more upsetting to me if I was Adam Silver. Because we've joked that Adam Silver can go, I have an 11-year, $76 billion contract that kicks in next year. Okay. You could take your ratings and you could shove it. Because I'm pocketing $7 billion a year basically for the next 11 years. $7 billion a year for the next 11 years. NBA teams, however, saw local ratings decline by 13% this year.
Now, they've had their same issues with the regional sports networks that baseball and hockey are going through.
Totally.
So I don't know how much of that is attributed to the RSN's decline.
Right.
How much of that's attributed to people who have cut cords? Like me, for example. I'm someone who watched, I don't know, a dozen Heat games a year that I would at least put on to entertain myself.
On the regional.
I don't have the regional anymore. I don't watch any of it. I'm watching national broadcasts of games, whether it's last night watching a little bit of Orioles and Guardians on TV2 while I watch the Magic and Hawks play in the play-in game. So I don't know how much the RSNs have to do with that.
Right.
Or if it's a problem, a bigger problem with viewership.
But those are the numbers. Now, I do think if the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals don't do well, it will be difficult to spin that with record Super Bowl ratings in a blowout, with tremendous NCAA tournament and Final Four ratings, with outstanding NCAA women's basketball ratings. I mean, the 2025 Final Four compared to the 2022 Final Four, there are 4 million more people watched. 8.5 to 4.5. And the audience was practically doubled. Now, it's not Caitlin Clark of 23 and 24. That was 10 and 19 million. But, I mean, if we're just, non-Caitlin Clark Final Four versus non-Caitlin Clark Final Four, damn near doubled the numbers.
And David, let me ask you a question. And I actually agree with your premise that if the NBA and NHL numbers are down, they've got bigger problems. Who in the hell are people going to watch in the NHL? I almost think I really think like the Chuck's got to come back and the Florida Panthers have to go on a run, because then they can play off of the Canada-US Four Nations thing. Name me a team in the East that anybody nationally is going to get excited about if it's not the Panthers or the Washington Capitals because of Ovechkin and the record.
The only other storyline I can think of is along the lines of the U.S.-Canada storyline. What if the Leafs, who haven't won since 67, so you got the great, super hyped Dallas Cowboys of the NHL franchise representing Canada. They haven't won a cup in nearly 60 years. Canada hasn't won a cup in 32. And then pick the U.S. franchise that Toronto has to go through in the final from the West. Is it Dallas, Colorado? All right, Vegas. Okay, pick me. It's the only thing, Mark, I'm wondering, can we sell the U.S.-Canada rivalry in the finals? And does the league have the guts to market it that way also? I mean, no offense, bring it in, okay? Bring a clip from Trump and bring a clip from the Canadian Prime Minister into the promo, okay? Yeah, this is U.S. against Canada for the Stanley Cup Final. It's personal, okay? And you show the fights from the Four Nations, okay? And I mean, seriously, it's the only thing I could think of, Mark, because otherwise you're right.
Because I think the NHL Stanley Cup ratings are going to be down, and they're going to be down significantly. Unless we get a rematch of last year. Because Connor McDavid is regarded and is the best player in the sport. And if they played Florida again, there would be familiarity to that series, and that may do something. But, I mean, my goodness, you look at Vegas doesn't move the needle at all.
No.
Nobody in the West moves the needle, with perhaps the exception of maybe Colorado and McKinnon.
Correct.
I mean, you and I both love the Dallas Stars. I think you may pick them to win the whole thing. But they don't move the needle. Great players, but not a lot of household names in the sport. Or outside the sport, I should say.
And to further, by the way, if I'm pumping the whole U.S.-Canada, I want it to be Colorado, because I want to mention in the promo that the franchise used to be in Quebec, and we stole it from them.
But as you pointed out yesterday, no Bruins, no Penguins, that's Sidney Crosby, no Rangers. To a
No.
lesser extent, no Red Wings.
Yep.
No Blackhawks. It's a tough sell.
It is. It is. And that's why I think if you're the NHL, hopefully Ovechkin and the Caps maybe can get to a conference final. You can ride that a little bit. And I would tie into the whole Four Nations thing. Honestly, I got to have promos of people fighting. Honestly, I got to do something because you're right. They do not have the marquee teams in the playoffs as of now.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't think so, Sonny. First off, the Habs, to get to the final would be shocking, but that's not a draw. I don't think Toronto is either. I don't think an all-Canadian final would do anything in the States. Maybe Leafs Oilers. Maybe. But it's got to get to 6 or 7, if you know what I mean. I'm with you, Deadstroke. That's what I think. I think Florida Edmonton's still going to be the best rated final if they got it. Although the Ovechkin thing would be interesting. But I think after Florida Tampa, you want Florida Toronto. After Florida Toronto, you want Florida Washington.
First time in the history of the NHL since the Penguins came into existence that the Bruins, Rangers, and Penguins are not in the playoffs. That one of those three is not in the playoffs. Throw the Wings in on top of it. Yikes. I mean, Carolina, New Jersey's a playoff series.
That should be on the NBA network. Yes, I said NBA.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes. So we're out of here. Thanks for being with us. Hump Day edition, Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. If you've missed Mark Packer, Orlando Alzugaray, or Alejandro Solana, well, pretty much a few minutes after the top of the hour, everything is, posted, millerandmoulton.com. In fact, I think the interviews with Mark Packer and Orlando Alzugaray are already posted.
Oh, yeah, they're up. They're up. I laugh because from the time I get them up, I subscribe to our podcast to make sure everything gets downloaded properly. That, if I'm getting them, I know the people who want them are getting them.
Right.
And I laugh because about 15 or 20 minutes into the hour, I get a notification on my phone that the podcast is ready. I'm like, I know it's ready. I did that.
I'm part of the damn show, One other thing here before you do your thing.
Okay.
I may have lost my train of thought.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Text sponsor to 21,000. Was that it?
Well, actually, it had something to do with 21,000 in a sense. It was our poll question. All right. Week Martindale died yesterday, the game show host, not the football coach. And in honor of a famous game show host, we asked you, what's the best game show? Wheel, Jeopardy, Price is Right, Family Feud.
Our audience showing that they're a little younger than I thought and very much more, as much male as we thought, because Wheel's only getting 5% of the vote, David. Got to know your audience. But right now, Price is Right getting 43% of the vote, Jeopardy getting a third of the vote, and Family Feud getting a little less than 20%. Go to that, Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X to vote.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was a day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com or visit them in Bonita Springs or Naples. Make sure to mention the Miller and Moulton Show for 10% off of your service. We start today in 1929 as the Cleveland Indians open the season with numbers on the back of each player's jersey, the first Major League Baseball team to do so. Cleveland wins the game against Detroit 5-4 in 11. 1940, we go back to Cleveland. Actually, Cleveland via Chicago. because it was today in 1940 that Bob Feller throws an opening day no-hitter to defeat the White Sox 1-0 at Comiskey. 1943. Thank you, Dr. Albert Hoffman. He discovered the psychedelic effects of LSD. I just want to remember that Bush that talked to me in Mount Pleasant, Michigan around 1991.
So that's where you had your encounter with the burning bush, huh?
Yeah, I went outside to relieve myself, and the bush was talking to me, and I couldn't quit doing what I was doing to get back inside, and it was a long experience. That's all I can say.
Well, for some it was in the Old Testament, or for some of you it was that way.
1949, I did this for all the Leafs fans out there. Toronto beats the Red Wings for a 4-game series sweep and a three-peat for the Maple Leafs. You can win the final game of the season, Toronto. It's actually happened before. 1962, Walter Cronkite begins anchoring the CBS Evening News. 1971, the Stones release Brown Sugar. It's their first release on their own label, Rolling Stone Records. 1991, the Temple of the Dog album is released. It's a tribute to Andrew Wood, the singer of Mother Love Bone, who died in 1990. Temple of the Dog was Soundgarden members Chris Cornell and Matt Cameron, along with most of Pearl Jam. 2007, the Virginia Tech Massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history at that time. 32 people are killed and 23 others are injured. Today in 2018, Kendrick Lamar is the first rapper to win the Pulitzer Prize for music. And today in 2023, Phantom of the Opera closes at the Majestic Theater in New York after 13,981 shows. I actually saw it in London. Did you see it on Broadway, David?
Oh, yeah.
Figured as much. Wilbur Wright, Charlie Chaplin, Henry Mancini, Pope Benedict, Dusty Springfield, and Selena would have all celebrated birthdays today. Bobby Vinton. I just like that he was called the Polish Prince. He's 90 today. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is 78. Bill Belichick is 73. Manager Bruce Bochy is 70. John Cryer and Martin Lawrence are both 60. Steve Ettman is 55. And Chance the Rapper is 32. What did I miss, David?
Yeah, there's a lot of nicknames we couldn't do anymore. Lee Trevino was Mary Mex. Jaworski was the Polish Rifle. I mean, all those nicknames that guys were just called by all the announcers for their careers, basically. And obviously, today, we don't go there. A couple of things. I did not know this. Bernard Baruch is someone that we owe a debt of gratitude to, because he is a South Carolina politician, and he is the one that came up in 1947 with the description that made it very easy for us to understand relationship between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. He's the one who coined it the Cold War. And the national media liked it and began to use it. And obviously it stuck. Bernard Baruch. And it was on this day, 62 years ago, that Martin Luther King Jr. writes Letters from a Birmingham Jail.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good today, we go to the Causeway in Sanibel. Obviously, you've seen the construction crews if you've driven to Sanibel in the last few years. But you could be back on the Causeway beaches in May. Right now, they are shooting for a May 1st opening of phase 1 of the beaches after Ian. and they thought it was going to open in 2027, so they're well ahead of schedule. That's great news. For the bad, we go to Collier County, where Stephen Hamlet was driving 100 miles per hour through a school zone and nearly hit a bus on State Road 29 yesterday. He then nearly crashed into a cement truck, almost hitting a bus full of children while passing in a no passing lane. Passed some vehicles on the grass. And I guess the reason he was passing people on the grass is because he had some in the car with him. When he was finally pulled over, they found a little weed, a pipe, and some cocaine. He was arrested on reckless driving and possession of drug paraphernalia. And finally, an all-timer ugly and an all-timer of stupid. We go to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where Joshua Lowe had a girlfriend. And his girlfriend's family went on a cruise. They brought their daughter. They didn't bring the 19-year-old Joshua. He was upset that they actually asked him to stay in their house where his girlfriend lived, and he was shacking up with the girlfriend to take care of the family pet. So he decided to get back at them for not allowing him on the family vacation, of which he was no part of the family. He made a false bomb threat to Carnival Cruises. The cruise on its way to Jamaica had to turn back to Florida, and the Carnival Corporation had to check more than 1,000 rooms. This moron is now going to prison for the bomb threat hoax. Don't know if the girlfriend will be around for any conjugal visits. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Wednesday, April the 16th, here on Miller and Moulton.
When we were living in Fort Myers, there was a teenager on our block that called in a bomb threat to South Fort Myers High School. And he did it from a cell phone that pinged off the cell phone tower directly behind our house. So all of a sudden, at a very early hour, the cops were surrounding our property and knocking on the door. And I'm like, wonder what's going on here. And the cops proceeded, Mark, to ask a series of questions. And I, of course, invited them in. They're standing. I go, do you guys want to come in? And they go, sure. And, you know, wife is with me and daughter's in her room. And they ask a series of questions along the lines of, do you have a teenage daughter? Yeah. Do you have a teenager that lives here? Yes. Do they have a cell phone? Yes. Do they go to South Fort Myers High School? Yes. Well, these answers needed to be no. Okay. I mean, literally, the cops now are about ready to like go through the house. And I'm like, what's going on? And so, you know, I said, hey, daughter's in that room right there, you know, bring her out and what have you. So they checked her phone and the whole deal. And I said, there's a couple other kids on the block that also go to that school. And I said, I guess their call could have pinged off the tower. And they were like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, that house over there and that house over there. I go, we're not going anywhere. I go, if you got to come back. But, you know, I'd check out those places. But yeah, the whole bomb threat thing. And when the cops are asking questions and you desperately want one of the answers to be no, and every single answer is yes. Yeah, that was a little frightening.
I can see where it would be.
Yeah. NBA play-ins tonight. Losers eliminated. Miami at Chicago. Bulls a 1.5-point favorite, 7:30 ESPN. Winner goes to Atlanta to play the Hawks to try to play in as the 8th seed on Friday. Dallas at Sacramento, 10 o'clock on ESPN tonight. Sacramento a 4.5-point favorite. Remember, losers out. Winner of Dallas-Sacramento goes to Memphis for Friday to try to play themselves in as the 8th seed. NHL. Montreal hosts Carolina tonight, and the game is not nationally televised. Instead, TNT has a doubleheader of Detroit and the Devils and Vegas and Vancouver. And the only game literally left in the NHL regular season that has any meaning today is Carolina at Montreal, and we're not going to see it.
Nope. Well done. Well done, NHL. If I'm the NHL, I force my broadcast partners to show it.
Yeah, totally. Good.
This is not on TNT to me. This is, no, you've got to show this game.
Yeah. Full slate of games on a Wednesday, but it's a getaway day. You got afternoon games, Mets and Twins, Braves and Blue Jays, Tigers, Brewers, Astros, Cardinals, Cubs, Padres. FS1 tonight, Seattle and Cincinnati. Think about the nationally televised games we've had the last 2 nights. Last night was what? Cleveland, Baltimore?
Cleveland, Baltimore, yeah.
And tonight we're getting Seattle, Cincinnati. Huh. It's interesting. So there you have it.
By the way, we got a text towards the end of the show here. We got about a minute left, so I'll try to get to this quickly. But Texter says that the Indiana Fever game against the Brazil national team, it's a WNBA preseason game that was just picked up by ESPN. He says that will beat the NHL and the NBA head-to-head if it happens. The game is scheduled for, I guess, a 5 o'clock tip-off. It will be on ESPN unless there's a Game 7 that night, and then it will be moved to the Deuce. I don't think he's right because it's the playoffs, but it's going to be a hell of a lot closer than either of those leagues would ever want to see.
Well, the Dallas Wings are already advertising when Caitlin Clark and the Fever come to Dallas, and they're already advertising Caitlin against Paige. And that game will, yes, be at the home of where the Mavs play. Miller and Moulton, enjoy the rest of your hump day. We'll be back at it tomorrow, a week before the draft.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton